Let's get into some bachelor party bets. It's BPE, bachelor party bets. These are bachelor party locks, BPL. Chris, you're talking this Fulham home against Manchester United. Manchester United are plus 120 to win. Fulham are plus 215. I looked at this game. I was going to talk about this game, but I decided I didn't want to mess around with Manchester United. We know them from last season. They sometimes they look good, and then next week they look bad. And then Fulham at home. What do we expect from that? But what are you taking in this match?
Yeah, this is actually my lock of the week here. I will say, let me preface this by saying, Man United Arsenal was kind of was it a boring game? Do I dare say there's a little bit of, it wasn't the best game that I've ever watched. I think the XG was relatively low too, but that early Ricardo Calafiore goal kind of just nodded it home off that beautiful Declan Rice corner. That one was boring. It was boring. Arsenal gets a big result, but I think that the takeaway was that Man United actually looked pretty solid. They could have went out and won it. I thought a little bit of a controversy with I think it was the challenge on Mbomo. I can't remember, but wasn't a pen for me, but a lot of people kind of thought it was. It's 50-50. So easily could have kind of gotten a point, but they're traveling to Fulham this weekend. And I actually like my lock of the week. I think I was excited by seeing Cunha, Mbomo. I think Shesko came on. They looked like they actually had a pulse, which last season I don't know that many of those games were like, oh, maybe this team is kind of like a dead man walking. But I think they look better. They benefited from Ruben Amorim having a little bit more time. I like money line plus 115. I'm also what gives me confidence in this bet is looking at last season. Man United won both the home and away match 1-0. So I'm kind of into this a little bit more, and I just think that they're improved and they've had. It cannot be worse than last season, right?
Yeah, I think I bet on Fulham at least once in this matchup last season, and I think they're the better team in at least one of those games, but they just couldn't score. They couldn't get past them, and then they actually advanced past them. I think it was PKs in the FA Cup. I was on this bet as well, Manchester United, but I wanted to wait a couple more matches before actually betting on Manchester United, especially away from home. I mean, they had the home opener. I know it was against Arsenal. They look better with their new players, but I just wanted to wait, see if this can be an every week occurrence. I mean, I think it can be, but I still didn't want to do that myself. So instead, I'm going to. This was a tough week. First of all, I think you had trouble getting to a favorite bet. I've been looking for a couple days here trying to find something I really like, but there wasn't really anything that super stood out to me. Just looking through all these matchups, we have a lot of close games and then got a lot of odds that are heavy in a certain way that you don't want to touch. A lot of unders that you like that are minus 130, minus 140 kind of a thing. A lot of overs that are a little too high. So I looked around, and unfortunately, I came to a Nottingham Forest game. I lost my Nottingham Forest value pick last week. I was terrible betting Nottingham Forest last season because, they overperformed their XG, and I hated them for the most part. But I'm going back to them. So Crystal Palace, we'd mentioned Eze already. Eze doesn't seem – we'll see. I don't know if he's going to be playing Thursday for them, but it definitely doesn't seem like he's going to be playing Sunday for Crystal Palace. So you take Eze out of the squad. You take their pretty solid defense. Hopefully Mark Gahey is going to be there Sunday as well. You have their defense against Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, again, overperformed their XG against Brentford, who didn't look great in that opener. But no on both teams to score. Plus 100 odds. The under 2.5 goals is minus 130. So I looked at this bet. I think this is a 1-0 game either side. 0-0. 1-0, maybe 2-0. Hopefully it's not 1-1 kind of game, but I think it's going to be a game where both teams are basically shooting from outside the box. Chris Wood isn't going to have opportunities against Lacroix and Gahey in the back. He's not going to have the same opportunities. At least that's my hope. So no both teams to score, plus 100. I think it's going to be a low scoring game here, just based off this Crystal Palace team. And without Eze, what are they going to look like in possibly their first game without Eze in their actual team? I'm not sure how good it's going to be against what was one of the better defenses in the league last season. So No, both teams to score plus 100.
I think that's it. I mean, you saw what happened with both teams last week, and the Palace backline is so good. I guess so organized. I don't know if it's a per player talent basis, but they just grind stuff out. Like they're so good at like grinding games out. And yeah, despite Eze's like really their opportunity to win games, I feel like their defense is where they're just like grinding out points. Yeah, if he's still there, then that's a plus too. But yeah, this. Just how Forest plays too. It's going to be a low scoring affair. I like where you're headed with this one.
I think a healthy Adam Wharton plus like Will Hughes just like fouling people in the middle of the pitch. Like I think that's just going to be they're just going to cause a nuisance for all the Forest guys. Morgan Gibbs White and company.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Let's win some more money here. We got some value picks, and I had a few options for this one. I went a couple different ways, but you were going with the promoted battle here. You looked at last season between Burnley and Sunderland. You saw these teams play last week. 3-0? Both teams had in opposite sides here. Yeah. So what side are you going with here? Are you overreacting with your bet here, Chris? Let's get into it.
I mean, this is our fifth season doing this podcast. I'm prone to overreaction. So this should surprise neither you or anyone who's actually listened to a couple seasons. Yeah, I mean, 3-0 West Ham. You called this, and I agreed with you last week with the we're like, what is this West Ham number? Like, I feel like Sunderland might be. I think you had them on the don't bet this. And obviously that hit. I'm back into it. They looked impressive, and I mean, we said it even in our futures pod and our game week 1 pod. Like they've just been doing the business in the transfer market. They've been spending money. They've been doing the things that you would think would keep you up. And so here we are. I love this game week, because there's like every single type of matchup. There is this relegation scrap, newly promoted team scrap. There is Tottenham Man City, which is always seems like an instant classic. There is, you already mentioned the Crystal Palace Nottingham Forest game. Top that with the whole Europa Conference League thing going on. And then, of course, there's Newcastle Liverpool. So just want to get that out quickly. But what I like here is for a value is you can get Sunderland money line. They are traveling away. Plus 215. That seems like a pretty notable odd. And then, I did mention how they've done a lot of work in the transfer market. Things have changed a lot since last season, but last season they drew 0-0 and they won 1-0 against. Despite Burnley scoring 100 points, Sunderland still held them on both matches. They'll be a pretty good team. Like I just think the plus 215 is a good look, but overall, I think the one worth kind of narrowing in on is you could get Sunderland double chance and over 2.5. That's actually plus 250. So whether it's the Sunderland money line plus 215 or the Sunderland double chance and over 2.5, it's 250. I like Sunderland money line more.
Over 2.5. Okay.
Yeah, which is a bit odd. It was 0-0 and 1-0 last week, or last season. So that would be kind of a big ask.
Yeah, I would say a little more under, but you're Mr. Overreaction and I am Mr. Anti-Overreaction. So I was actually looking at Burnley money line in this because, I think maybe they're getting a little too much respect here, but they did add the players, and I'm still not sold on this Burnley lineup. The Burnley lineup that they threw out against Tottenham, still not entirely sold on what this group's going to be. I think they've been in, and maybe they haven't been in new transfer rumors. That's Leeds I'm thinking of, but if Armando Broja is like your headline forward transfer, I'm just not sure what to expect from this squad really. So I didn't want to bet on them, but yeah, you're looking at Sunderland here plus 215. My value play here, I looked at a couple different options. I was looking at some Man City ones, home against Tottenham, but I think their odds, you mentioned earlier, the odds are kind of juiced a little bit. But I'm going this Wolverhampton-Bournemouth match. So Bournemouth, I was on both teams are scoring over 3.5 in the Bournemouth-Liverpool match. That's what I was on last week. That was my lock of the week. And I was going to go similar. I was going to go back to there, but we have over 2.5 goals is like minus 140. I do think over 3.5 goals is an option in this game. That one's plus 190. I'm actually just looking at a player prop for some value. because I'm still not certain. We saw this Bournemouth defense last week. It's just not there. You throw in all these new defenders. Senesi didn't look very good. There's a reason he was dropped last season, and now he's starting with a brand new Diakite on the back line. But you throw that in with the injuries to Lewis Cook and Ryan Christie, and this team just doesn't really have the bodies compared to last season. So I think there's going to be goals in this one. And instead of goals, I'm looking at there's a couple options. You can get over 3.5 shots is plus 150. Over 4.5 shots is plus 425. This is for Jorgen Strand Larsen, the Wolverhampton forward. He had 4 shots against Manchester City last week. And I think without Cunha, this Wolverhampton strategy is just bomb it to Strand Larsen, get his head on the ball, have him box, let him do whatever with it. They don't really have a Cunha who's going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to rip shots from 30 yards out. They don't really have a guy who's going to be doing that. Aitnery did that previously. Cunha did that previously. They don't really have someone who's going to be doing that. So I think it's going to be all about Strand Larsen, getting him the ball. But we have plus 205 anytime goal scorer for Strand Larsen. I like Wolverhampton to score. I think I also looked at over 1.5 goals for Wolverhampton. But I'm just going Strand Larsen, the most likely goal scorer, plus 205 odds. I think the odds are pretty good. I would expect, if I'm expecting Wolverhampton to score maybe 2 goals, I would think, Strand Larsen maybe like plus 150 odds, something like that. So plus 205, I'll take that.